Everyone has their game. You know, the game that other people find hard, but you can somehow breeze through. It's that game that you make look easy. Well, after getting the crap beat out of me by Ghosts and Goblins, today we're playing my game, Mega Man 2, until we win. Rockman 2, as it was known in Japan, wasn't originally scheduled to be developed. Keiji Inafune, in an interview with Nintendo Power, stated that the game's development was a rogue effort because the original Rockman wasn't successful enough to justify a sequel. Thankfully, though, Capcom let Inaf King work on Rockman 2 under the condition that his team also work on other projects concurrently. By the way, this game was made in about 4 months. That is wild. Also, a little tidbit of information from the G4 TV series Game Makers, Mega Man 2 contains a variety of unused content that had to be scrapped from Mega Man 1. Now, I know I'll get harassed about this, so let's set this straight. Mega Man 2's normal difficulty is Rockman 2, just a tad easier. Enemies take about half as much damage to die. That's why I'm playing it on difficult mode. Oh, and since everybody already knows the efficient order to kill the bosses easily, I'm going to skip special weapons for the most part, well, at least as much as the game lets me. Instead, I'm going to play this game in order of musical awesomeness, because why the hell not? We start off with Airman, and let me tell you, this guy's a pushover. Even his stage is mostly a joke. Alright, so there might be a tricky part here and there, but the stage is all about timing your jumps. You don't have to be perfect, but you'll probably have to learn the stage layout before you can run through and rush the boss. Airman himself isn't that much of a problem. He shoots 3 different tornado patterns, but they're not that difficult to avoid, except for the one with the tighter cluster where you kinda have to try and jump through them and it doesn't work and it hurts. Anyway, don't worry about it. Just shoot him when you have a chance, avoid his tornadoes, you'll get his weapon and his item. Bubble Man is next on the list, and his stage introduces you to some interesting things. First, epileptic seizures. Second, insta-death spikes, which you'll only really face in this level in one of the Wily stages. This stage is very straightforward, but keep in mind that your jumping is going to be very awkward once you get in the water. For some reason, a humanoid robot can float very well. If you're low on health, there are a couple of infinite spawning enemies in this stage. There also happens to be a giant death hallway filled with spikes. My suggestion, keep close to the ledges when jumping. Press forward to not die. Of course, you'll also have to perfectly position your jumps as well. Once you get past that, it's just some frogs, flying crabs, and more seizures before you face off against Bubble Man. His pattern really isn't all that complicated, it's just annoying. Believe me, there's a lot of on-screen flickering going on that the video's not showing. Bubble Man will shoot 3 bubbles, 4 bullets, and jump in your direction in any combination of the 3. Avoid everything and shoot him. That's how you make him explode. You win, get his powers, and move on to the next stage. Quickman is next on our list, and his stage is all about speed and accuracy. Surprise, surprise. Look, I'm not going to try to describe this stage to you because it'll just take forever. Just watch the video and see how it's done. Oh, except for this part where the lights go out, just keep moving to the right and jumping, destroying the big flaming things in your way. Eventually, you'll face off against this shining dickhead of a boss, Quickman. The trick here is to keep moving. Quickman will try and trap you between himself and his boomerangs. You want to avoid the boomerangs, avoid Quickman, and then avoid the boomerangs again because they launch out at you a second time just like boomerangs don't do in the real world, and then shoot Quickman and repeat. Eventually, you'll take him down. Next up is Woodman, whose stage is actually pretty straightforward. Aside from a couple of sticking points, there's not much to this one. First, the blue robot tiger things. They shoot fire. Avoiding said fire is easier said than done, but if you jump correctly, that is, you want to jump up as much as you want to jump forward, they're actually pretty easy to avoid and take care of. Those hanging gorillas, though, man, they're second up, and they are a royal pain in the ass, until you figure out how to deal with them. You're probably going to be like me, running forward and convinced you need the metal blades to kill the gorillas without having them hurt you. I thought this for the longest time. Turns out, that's not true. When a gorilla first spawns, just hang back and wait. Stay out of his range, and eventually he'll just get tired of hanging and jump up like he normally does when he attacks. Only this time, he won't hit you, and you can get by that little sticking point. The last part with the roosters is still a pain in my butt. I mean, you've got these running roosters who like to screw with you and jump up in your face. Here's how you deal with them. Once one of them spawns, stop moving. That's it, just stand still. The roosters will jump over you, and you can keep going on your merry way. Finally, you'll reach Woodman. His pattern's pretty cake, to be honest. It just takes some pixel-perfect precision to not get absolutely destroyed. Woodman will call down a rain of leaves and put up his infamous leaf shield. How any of this functions is beyond me, but that's not the point. The trick here? Simple. Jump over the leaf shield and then avoid the raining leaves by jumping around the leftmost one. Alright. It's simple, but it's not easy. Just trust me, you can do it, it just takes some good timing. Eventually, Woodman will be too close to the left side of the screen and you'll have to make your way to the right side. Once on the far right side, you won't be hit by the falling leaves and all you have to do is avoid his shield. Just keep matching his pattern, and eventually, you'll win. The next one on my list is Crashman. I know a lot of people are going to ask me, how in the world are you supposed to get past this guy's level without the tornado attack? And to be honest, I don't know. I don't even know if it's possible, and to be honest with you, I don't care. You see, the level itself isn't that much of a challenge. If you find yourself dying too much, you should probably spend a little more time being proactive in killing the blue rotating robots in the first part of the stage. Realistically, you should be able to just power through this level and make it to the boss. Crashman is funny. You see, his attacks are all based on what you do. This is both amazing and frustrating. If you do this wrong, Crashman can stick you into a corner and murder you. But this means his pattern's predictable, which is awesome. He'll jump every time you shoot, and he'll fire his crash bomb when you're next to or near him. So here's what you do. Jump and shoot to hit Crashman as he jumps. Run under him as he jumps up or forward as he jumps over you, and this will force him to fire a crash bomb. You can run away from that, not get hit from it, and then repeat the process. It's not easy, and you're gonna die a lot, but it's doable. After Crashman, we hit up Flashman for his amazing power to stop time for a brief moment and drain all of your energy reserve. Thanks, Flashman. This stage is very straightforward. Just be careful of the slippery floor, and apparently Flashman lives in the Fortress of Solitude. You should be okay. Flashman himself is a pretty weak boss. He just runs left and right, barely jumping up to get over ledges, and occasionally causes time to freeze and fires rapid shots in front of himself. But really, the only thing that makes him difficult here are the ledges. They're more of a problem than Flashman himself because they can cause you to run into him more often than not. Really, just go crazy. The only thing that makes him difficult here are the ledges. Flashman's not particularly weak to your bullets, but he shouldn't pose too much of a challenge. Do you hear that? No, not the birds or the jet airplane in the background. The third best music in the game, Metal Man stage. And the stage is tricky, because it introduces a mechanic not seen anywhere else in the game, conveyor belts. It's not that difficult to deal with, though, because you can jump in the air to more precisely control your position. Two enemies pose a challenge here, the overhead spikes that drop down and murder you, and the clowns on cogs. The spikes are easy to deal with. Avoid them. The clowns on cogs are a bit more difficult. Your best option is to destroy the cogs before the clowns have a chance to ride them into you. Your next best option is to kill the clowns before they land on the cogs. In either case, they shouldn't pose too much of a risk. Just don't fall down the pits of death. Metal Man is fun to fight against. I mean, you've got conveyor belts that Metal Man can switch the direction of when you get too close. Metal Man jumping like an idiot, and those damn saw blades that he throws at you that you gotta avoid. All with the background of the boss music playing. Oh, fun times. The pattern here is, once again, reactive. Metal Man jumps and fires his saw blades based mostly on your jumping and firing. He often tries to aim his saw blades based on your expected next position, so moving left or right while in the air will almost certainly throw off his aim. Jump regularly to avoid the blades, but keep your left-right position different, and you'll be able to shoot this guy down. The next stage, and what I think is the second best music in the game, is Heat Man stage. I love this stage. It's hard for all the right reasons, full of fire, and has a metal soundtrack. This stage also features some of the most maddeningly difficult platforming you've seen on the NES up to 1988. Yes, I am talking about the disappearing blocks. As far as difficult platforming is concerned, this is just beautiful. Here you have the option of doing one of two things. Either you can cross the pit of insta-death lava with a jet sled, or you can do what the best do and jump over that damn pit. Listen, the pit itself is all about rote memorization. Here you'll need to memorize where and when the bricks spawn. If you time your jumps wrong, then you're going to miss the next brick and die. Other than the Pit of Death, the stage isn't too difficult or complicated. You should have no problems making your way to Heat Man. This boss is fun, but he always gets off the first shot. Always. I haven't figured out how to avoid it, except for the occasional jump that I can time correctly, but beating him is fun. Shoot him, he turns into a flame to fly at you, then you jump over him, shoot him again, and run away. Jump over him when he flies at you, and repeat the process. Eventually, you'll get to take on Dr. Wily. Dr. Wily Stage 1, best music in the game. It's probably up there with the best music on the NES, period. Now the stage isn't all that complicated. Use item 1 or 3 to scale up the walls. Just remember, item 3 changes direction each time you jump. Climb up the ladders and keep climbing. Use item 1 to get past the empty areas, and eventually you'll make your way to some simple platforming until, oh my god, a giant dragon. When I was a kid, this freaked me out. I mean, how often do you get chased by a gigantic goddamn dragon while trying to platform over a pit of instant death? Patience is key. Just shoot the dragon in the head from the middle platform, jump over the flames, and then quickly go back down to the middle platform. Keep shooting, and you'll move on to Dr. Wowie Stage 2. In Stage 2, you'll be given several options to take different paths. Skip them. Take the easy path. The rewards are not worth it. If you're low on health or energy, use the infinite spawning hallways of drills to replenish yourself, and then move on. Pro jump! You'll eventually jump down to some spike pits and face off against the boss. Walls. This one is just too easy. 2 shots from the Mega Buster and each segment is done. Just be proactive about destroying the walls, and try to make sure you're standing on empty space, you know, the parts where the walls have already spawned. Jump around like a madman for a bit, kill flying sections of the wall, and you're on your way to Stage 3. I can't describe much for Stage 3 other than saying that this is all about platforming skills and patience. You're going to need to learn the layout of the spike pit drop to pull it off successfully, but other than that, the stage is very straightforward. The boss is a gigantic tank that shoots bullets out of its forehead. Just get up close and personal with this guy, shoot him in the head, and don't worry, you'll win. Now, in Stage 4, we're going to be going up, 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 and then probably falling down on fake floors. If you want to make sure your floor is safe to walk across, you could always use a bubble attack to see if it falls through the floor, but personally, I prefer using the more difficult approach of smacking my face into a wall until I remember where everything is. It extends the gameplay. You'll eventually end up going down through some interesting moving platforms. Remember Crashman's level? The only thing different about these platforms is the need to look ahead and jump in the right spots. Oh, and occasionally you'll have to make a badass jump from floor to floor over a spike pit. It's cool though, because you're a boss. The boss of this stage, well, it's a thing. A thing that requires a lot of Crashman's power. In fact, you'd better have all of Crashman's power and full health, because you are going to get hit by his attacks. I recommend grinding on the enemies just outside of the boss's lair to fill up on your health and energy before going in there. How do I describe beating this guy? I go topmost, then right, then one more to the right, then underneath him, and then the leftmost guy. I just don't know how else to explain it. The only reason he's hard is because you're under a time constraint. The attacks will hit you, and you are going to run out of life eventually. Just remember that you can't blow open every wall, otherwise you're going to run out of power. Eventually, though, you'll get the pattern down and move on to Wily Stage 5, the Boss Rush. I love this mode. You get to beat every one of the Robot Masters again, and the patterns stay exactly the same. The levels are different for Flashman and Bubbleman because it's just a flat plane, but overall, though, it's exactly the same as before. Go one by one down the list and take out the Robot Masters until you face off against Dr. Wily. Dr. Wily has 3 parts. The first one is surprisingly easy once you understand how the ship attacks. In Phase 1, the attacks arc towards your current position, so stand still until you can jump over the missile and then attack the ship's glass. Phase 2 is much more difficult because the attacks have a pattern that you've never seen before, 3 bouncing balls of energy. In truth, I only know that you can stand really close to the ship and not get hit, but then you risk getting hit by the ship itself. Not a very good trade-off. Your best strategy is to make sure that you are efficient. Hit the ship at least 2 or 3 times every time you jump, and try to run under the shots instead of jumping over them. Once you die a few times, you'll eventually make it to the final stage, which is just a hallway filled with slime, and then you face off against Wily himself, who's an alien? This boss doesn't take damage from any weapon, including the Mega Buster, except for your bubble attack. No, I'm serious. You have to kill this boss with bubbles. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's actually a nice bit of difficulty trickery here. Wily's attack pattern is such that it forces you to get up close and personal with your attacks, making it much harder to avoid getting shot and taking damage. Don't worry though, because if you're careful, you can hit him and run away until you win. Hey, thanks for watching Until We Win. Please subscribe to our videos, like our channel, subscribe to us, subscribe to everything, follow us on Twitter. But if you do like UW, why not support us? We have a Patreon campaign. That's Patreon, patreon.com/LordCat, and you can help support creating this great video series.